Okay, I'm lazy. Just call me lazy. That's why it's been a month and a half since I put one of these on here. I'm technologically ignorant. I have no idea how to work these, and it's aggravating to me to get on and do everything, but I was told to keep going. I should keep going. If I got that many stories, things can happen, but I should mention that nobody's allowed to use these stories. I'm not giving permission to anybody, but what I will do is when I prove that something is worth getting, I will advertise it. Right now, the only thing I've ever bought off the internet, I've only used it for 2 years now, that was as good as they said it was, is this Husk knife. All right. I was getting bitched at on, some people were telling me that I shouldn't advertise because that's how you get paid for these. I don't give a shit. Excuse my language. That's not why I tell these stories. But if they want to, I'll take their money. This here is a Husk knife. Handmade, folded 1,000 times, supposedly. I don't know if I believe that, but it is a strong knife because this one here, I've whipped in the doors. I've shaved with it. I've got dry shaving on one of these videos with this knife, completely off. And it was big whiskers. So it hurt, but I was able to do it. It might have hurt a little more to somebody that isn't used to dry shaving, but I've dry shaved all my life because water breaks me out. I don't know why I started to tell these stories now because I'm supposed to be doing something in an hour, but this is a good product. The only thing they did was they billed me and sold me 4 of these instead of 1. I ordered 1 with a sheath and they billed me for 4. They sent me 4, but they kind of tricked me on that. Now, we're going to talk about how I got this scar right here, all the way across. The back one is a 45. The front one is a drain tube, and this one was where they cut open, punctured my lung to deflate it. Damn it, I got to go through all this shit. A scar right here where they took a vein out of my leg, the inside of my right leg, and replaced the artery in my arm. And then this has been opened up 3 times, but the first time they opened this was because of this. And then I have a scar right here because of a hematoma that's set up. And this is basically a long story. It's got to go from the beginning, or you go, why this, how that, and so I got to complete the story. So there's a lot of questions arise just for me saying one thing. I could tell you one little thing about this story. You'll ask 10 questions. Okay. I was shot in the arm with a .22 by my older sibling. And this was the 3rd time he's actually hit me with a bullet. All right. He's even shot me in the back with a .25 caliber before. I didn't know it. It was from a distance. I thought something fell out of the sky. We used to have BB gun wars growing up. So I've shot him as many times, but not with anything more powerful than a BB gun. All right, starts in 1988. I get a phone call from the female sibling I grew up with telling me that I got to promise not to tell mom. For 20 minutes, I had to listen to that before she started her story. I finally told her that if she doesn't tell me, I'm going to reach through the phone and strangle her. Okay. She told me that my older sibling's coke dealer picked her up from school, after school, telling her that our mother asked him to pick her up from school and to get her home in time so they can go somewhere. My mother would have picked her up herself. All right. I don't know why she believed it, but she's seen him over the house a couple times. So we have a problem there when she trusted him. I taught her to fight because she was a girl and I was trained by Frank Holt on Butterfield. And I think it was Kempo. I'm not really sure. But, anyways, I taught her as much as I could. And she got in the car. And when he got her to the house, he told her that she wasn't getting out of the car unless my older sibling had the $250 for the 8-ball he got on credit a couple weeks prior. Excuse me. Well, there was 3 other guys in the car, I think is what I was told, and she made it out of the car when they were trying to keep her in. She bit, pulled a nose, ripped the cheeks. She stuck her thumbs in somebody's mouth on the outside of his teeth and grabbed his cheeks and ripped his lips straight up. I taught her that. I'll take the credit for that. And bit somebody. I tell you, you can go punching and kicking somebody and twisting their arms all you want. They're going to come back to fight you again. You fight like a girl, scratch, bite, pull hair, gouge eyes. They're going to think you're crazy, you're a lunatic, and they're not going to come back. You know how much damage teeth does to a human body. Well, I ended up driving up here. I bought a car, a little $500 beater, something I had to make sure would last the 20-hour drive. Filled it up with gas, oil, water, fluids of all kinds, and I drove up here. I was due to go to that training camp in 3 days. I had to be where they told me to be in 3 days. So I drove up. I went into the door. It was fresh snow on the ground up here in Youngstown. I walked around an apartment building where he lived, bunch of fresh snow on the ground, made sure his cars were where they were, because he leaves one on one side of the building, one on the other, and another one in the front. All right. I go to his door, knock on the door. I finally get his attention, and he comes to the door asking who it is. I have my finger over the peephole, and I'm knocking on the door. Wouldn't say anything. Every time he asked who it was, I'd knock. Finally, he's yelling, "I'll blow your lemons off," and the other things that I'm not going to say on here. But anyways, when he opened the door, I kicked the door open, chain broke, and I gave him a flurry of punches, a couple knees in the stomach, in the groin, because he flew up against the little wall that separates the closet from the living room. And I persisted on beating him to death. And I woke him up on the ground. I drug his head into the door jamb, and I woke him up. "John, next time you go abducting somebody's sister, you better make sure it ain't mine." And I slammed the door on his head. I stepped over his head outside in the hallway, and here come 2 cops. Somebody called the police. They just so happened to be in the area. I think they knew I was coming up here, because my Uncle Ed was a lieutenant of the traffic division in Youngstown for 35 years at the time, 30 years. And he knew that the guy that I was going after, there was investigation on him, and he knew that my little sister told. So when the 2 cops show up, they want to arrest me. But the father of the one cop showed up, who was the head of a task force, and he tells his son that he's not going to arrest me, to go out and look for the footprints in the snow, like I said, because there was footprints. Somebody ran out the other door when I was coming up, and I didn't do this. So he gets his kids out of there, his kid and the other guy out of there, which I knew both of them from, they were a few years ahead of me in high school. So they absolutely knew me, and they tried to say that I'm always there when there's trouble. I said, I've been in Arkansas over a year. This is the first day I came back, and I came here, and somebody ran out the front door. His dad comes and sends him out the front door, and he looks at me and says, Theo, you better tell me the truth of what's going on here, because your uncle already let me know what was going on. And I said, what would you have done? He said the same goddamn thing. He says, yoo-hoo, look, crime scene, doors open. They went in and found money, guns, and drugs in the same box in 3 different places in the house. And arrested everybody. Even in his mother's room, he tried to hide something in her closet. They checked there. So they found something, and he puts it on him. His mother didn't know it was there, which was bullshit, because I know his mother was involved in it. His mother was probably the financier of the project they had going on. So I leave, and I get away with it. So I make it down to where I was supposed to meet my ride in North Little Rock to go to this training camp. It all goes well. I come back in 92. Nobody's seen me 89, 90 until maybe the end of 91, maybe August or September of 91. Nobody in my family anyways. Few people see me from coming back, but I always had to leave back out. So 3 years goes by, 4 years goes by. The guy got 6 years in Leavenworth. Not Leavenworth, I'm sorry. Chillicothe, I believe it was. There's another prison down there that's closed now. They use it for something. I can't remember the name of it. I'll think of it in a minute. I come back in 92. I'm driving a semi. I come through the door. Every time I pull the semi out front, I toot the horn because it's early in the morning. I walk through the door, side door of the house. I get blindsided with a 2x4 before I turn the light on. It's my younger sibling. How you bop? How you like that? Smack me in the head with a 2x4. He's so small, he couldn't kill a mouse with a 2x4. He's swinging it as hard as he could. So he knows that anytime you hit me in the head, it's going to wake me up. It's not going to do anything. I had my head slammed into walls all my life by my father, because they were blaming me for whatever the older sibling did. Anyways, I found out they kept in touch with him for those 3 years that he was in prison. The whole time they were even sending him money for commissary because they were afraid he was going to come after him. He was a lunatic. And yeah, if I was to worry about somebody with pulling the trigger, it would have been him, because he was too stupid to think 93 comes. I pull in the front yard in the semi. I go in the house. I take a shower. I eat. And I go to bed about 5 o'clock in the morning. I wake up at 3:30 in that afternoon, and I'm taking a leak. And I'm looking out the bathroom window when I hear my younger sibling pull up, and the older one was fixing his truck outside the side window. I could see down and straight in the driveway, and I see this 442 with a blower sticking out of the hood, and I think, hey, that's a nice ride. And then I wake up. I know whose car that is. It belongs to the dude that I beat the shit out of that picked up my little sister. So I run downstairs. We have the landings that you do a little spiral down the stairs all the way to the basement. And I stop at the side door. My younger sibling is about to head out. I grab him by the shirt and I pick him up and put him in the corner of the foyer. And I told him, if something happens to me, I'm going to haunt you the rest of your life. I opened up the door, threw him out, shut the door, locked it, turned around. The older sibling is at the bottom of the basement steps, about 6 steps away from me, with a .22 rifle that was meant to look like a assault rifle. I said, put the gun down. You know as well as I do what's going on here. He said, F you, and he raised, and I took off up the steps, and he's firing through the wall. He almost got me at the foyer when he pulled the trigger, but I wasn't sitting still because I knew the trigger was getting pulled, because he's the one that's criminally insane, psychotic. But when it comes to me, he's been able to, all my cousins, we were all sitting in a pool around a puddle and pushing a little car to each other. And he runs the car through the mud puddle and gets Jeff all wet and soaked. And I ran in the house. I knew I was getting blamed for it. And I told my grandmother what happened. And he was able to get everybody in that circle. All my cousins and everybody say that I did it. I wasn't the one that did that. It was him. I don't know how he was able to scam everybody into blaming me for shit, but they all blamed me for shit. That's why I don't go anywhere near him, because even when I was 1,000 miles away, I was getting blamed for shit. I wouldn't be anywhere within Youngstown, anywhere within 1,000 miles, and they would still blame shit on me. Why? Because they're assholes. Okay. Anyways, I play cat and mouse. He's firing at me. I've got the divider that divides the kitchen and the foyer area and the living room and dining room area. That wall, there's a couple hutches that were there. One hutch was right there still. Because when I ran to the front door to get out of the house, there was a board nailed underneath the doorknob, a board nailed to the floor, and one going straight to the one on the floor. And they were screwed in the floor with screws this long. And he went through the trouble of finding the studs to put the screws into, the floor joists, because he knows I would have been able to jerk that board off the door and the floor. I would have been able to pull it off. I would have been able to pull it off the door. Somebody just texted me. Anyway, yes, I was that strong. I'm patting myself on the back because I was able to leg press 2 tons. I worked out with 2 tons on the leg press, and there's a mess load of people that see me do it. So everybody who played football for Fitch from 87 to 89 has watched me leg press 2 tons, and I leg extended 1,800 pounds. So yes, I was strong, and I bench pressed 360 3 times. So I never maxed out on bench, but I did 360 3 times. Anyways, I turn around and I say it again, put the gun away, you know just as well as I do what's going on here. He says, F you, and he starts firing at me again. So we're doing that cat and mouse. And I stand right in front of him. I say, put the effing gun down. You're a piece of shit. You know, excuse my language, trying not to use that. He says, F you. He raises it and he fires twice. Now, this banana clip for this .22 had 60 rounds in it. And he was able to hit me 1 time. in the right arm and find out that he drilled a small hole in the tip of the bullet, broke a thermometer open, and dripped the mercury out, a drop in there, and it gave me all kinds of problems. So mercury is worse than cancer. It destroyed my body for 25 years afterward. Well, I'm on my way to the hospital. I run around the corner. I do the thing where the foyer is separated by the wall from the kitchen, and then the dining room and the living room. So I'm running in a circle. We did one lap, and I grabbed the back of his shirt with my left hand because my right arm immediately curled. It hit the nerve and immediately curled. And I planted my foot, went to jerk him down, and I got hit in the chest with a 45. That punk was underneath the kitchen table. Unarmed man. My brother gets felonious assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, reduced to simple assault, minor misdemeanor. How he was able to do that all his life, I don't know. He was able to talk anybody out of their pants, and especially when it came to me. I spent 5 days in the hospital. Soon as I woke up, 5 days later, I signed myself out of the hospital. He came in, my older sibling came in and tried to give me a hug and gave me a pizza, but a piece was missing. Yay. I never touched that pizza because everything he's ever done to me has been sick. So he probably lifted up never mind. He's messed with my food every time I sit down for dinner. That's why I eat fast. It's just been my way to eat before anybody can screw with my food. Anyway, all right, we got that out of the way. It took me a couple years to get better. When I started school in '93. That same year, that winter, I took that winter semester, and '93, '94, '95, and the first semester of '96. And I took 3 courses in pre-med and an extra chemistry course. Now, in 10th grade, my algebra teacher told me that his brother-in-law was Dr. Phillips at YSU, and he wanted me to take a college-level chemistry course during my study hall. So I did. That 10th grade, I took that semester, 2 semesters, 11th grade, 3 semesters, 12th grade, 1 semester, and then an extra course. I took 4 courses a quarter, a semester in college, and then an extra chemistry course. So that was 5. The first semester I took 6 courses. The second semester I took 3. The fourth semester I took 6, and then it was 5 with that extra chemistry, and then it became 4 with that extra chemistry. So I've got some 106 to 118 hours in chemistry in YSU with the semesters from 10th grade in high school. Nobody was able to give me a question. I would always read 3 chapters ahead in my books, and know I would be able to answer anything that they put on an exam. Oh, you notice how this pinky hangs? Doesn't notice how it hangs? My older sibling snapped it back to my wrist several times in my sleep from the time I was No, as far back as I can remember, 3, 4 years old, when he found out it was that easy. But that's the story of today. I gotta go. Y'all enjoy it. Forgive me. Damn it, something's in I got hair. I got long hair, so now I got hair in my mouth. You have a good one. Now come back.